Hello and welcome to the Quiver channel. I'm Jason, your host. When I woke up this morning, something was on my mind, my mobility scooter, and I wanted to talk about something. See, a lot of people think that mobility scooters are used for people with arthritis, people whose legs don't work anymore, people who have functioning controls, physical problems. But I have used now a mobility scooter for the last year. It's been amazing. I think it was March last year when I actually got it, March or April, when I first took the plunge. I was like, no, I'm not disabled. I'm not thinking, yeah, my doctor and everybody else was punching out to me, you can't leave the house, you can't move, thingy. So we had this idea. You see, a mobility scooter is amazing. If you get a class 3 mobility scooter, which are the ones that go 8 miles an hour, the reason they're expensive, if you get the ones that are actually safe to drive, is that they can go on the pavement. You're limited to 4 miles an hour on the pavement. They can go on the road. You're limited to 8 miles an hour on the road. You're limited to less. I mean, they say you can go on a dual carriageway. I'd never go on a dual carriageway with one. But small roads, like you've seen me driving around, perfect. And you can go inside shops with them. Now, imagine that for someone who's got anxiety, for someone who's got social anxiety, someone who doesn't like being around people, someone who needs a barrier between them and the world. Last year, I developed this idea of a mobile safe space. I'm autistic. My primary diagnostic is autistic spectrum disorder with bipolar type 2, ADHD, and PTSD as comorbidities. For me to leave the house normally, let's go back before the mobility scooters. How did I leave the house? Mainly I left the house for a CT scan at the hospital or a blood test I had to get at the hospital when they couldn't come out to me. Or if I had to go somewhere like the bank to sign a document or something. Things that could not be dealt with in the house. And for me to leave the house, I had to start preparing a week in advance. I had to create coping strategies to deal with anybody I would meet on the street, any situation that I wasn't expecting, because those situations could make me freeze up and I wouldn't be able to move. I'd become non-functioning. I would basically lock up and my brain would just have a car crash and nothing would happen and I would be stuck in place, which is a very dangerous thing to happen. The most successful thing I ever did was I created game worlds. If I was going to leave the house and go to my doctor's, then I would over 2 or 3 days create a game in my head. A game with a quest, and the quest was to get from my house to the doctor's, to see the doctor. That was the quest goal, to get there. So I'd have to create scripts in my head to deal with any NPCs, any people I'd be meeting on the street. I couldn't see them as people, because if I saw them as people, then my brain would mess up. So I had to see them as non-player characters in a game who I had automatic responses, like in Fallout, where you only have a certain amount of responses you can give, and those responses I had to drill into my head as actual responses to anything asked of me. The danger was if something happened, it was a sandbox. How could I cope with everything? So I would spend days and days beforehand sitting down, going through this, creating this coping strategies for this quest that I had to go from my house to the doctor or my house to the hospital, trying to bring everything, even being in a taxi. That had to be part of the game world and everything. It was possible, but it was so fucking mentally exhausting. You cannot imagine. It took 3 days to prepare, and it took 3 days to come back down from it afterwards. I literally couldn't do anything for 6 days at a time if I went out the house. That was the best. That was the very best technique I ever had. I also implemented using my X-Real glasses and used them as part of this game world that I was creating and things like that. But it was always exhausting, always wore me out for an entire week. So, when the idea started getting floating, first of all, the idea was get a higher level of mobility, because I should be able to get that because I don't leave the house and I need help leaving the house and all this. I didn't get that, but if we were thinking of going for a car. And why? An electric car, technology, all that awesome stuff. My brain could leverage that. But a car would not be useful. First of all, I don't drive. I'd have to have someone drive me places, so I'd be stuck in the house unless there was someone available to take me somewhere. I had no one who actually lived close enough who could do that for me. And no matter where I went in this car, if it became a safe space, it would become a prison, because I could drive to a shop or drive to town, be driven to town, and let's say in theory, I I actually managed to learn how to drive, and somehow, and I could drive my safe place, I still wouldn't be able to leave the car to go in the shops or go anywhere, because I'd been going outside my safe space once again. So this idea of the mobility scooter came in, and oh my God, from the first moment I got on that mobility scooter, it was like I was freed. I was fucking freed. The moment my hands rested on that technology, and it became my safe space. And of course I had to, massive different type of coping strategies had to be implemented, like making sure I had a emergency tent inside the backpack with it and all this kind of thing, and tools for it, and all these bits and pieces that were set up so that I could be safe. And like I have to have estimated 24 hours worth of food and drink just in case I can't get back home, so that my brain can settle on being in there. It's a mobile safe space. But the wonderful thing about it is I can go out from my house and go to the local park. I can go from the park and decide, where else do I want to go? I can go to a shop. I can actually visit a shop. And at a shop, I turn the speed down to like 2.5 miles an hour. And I go inside the shop and I shop. I actually go in a shop. You've seen me doing it. It's amazing for mental health, for a person like me. It's something absolutely splendiferous. It's like, if I want to leave the house, I can. If I want to visit Trentham Gardens, I can. This is something that was never available to me. This is something, even the only times I did stuff like that was when Paolo was alive and I had that anchor and I could put my hands out in front of me and push a wheelchair around in front of me. And that was my focus, and that's how I could function outside the house when Paolo was around. Apart from that, my entire life, I just went A to B, A to B, A to B when I needed to get somewhere. And I always went, okay, so I've got to get to college. I've got to, instead of walking down the road, follow the train track. No people are there. Go around this house, go around this place. When I was a kid, I'd find a little abandoned garden that I can spend my time in when I'm outside the house, so I don't have to interact with people. Now I can go actually out. And this is an amazing thing. So yeah, definitely access mobility scooters for autistic people, as long as you can function in them and you can make that mental gymnastic jump to turn it from just an object to a safe space. It is amazing. It really is. It's absolutely amazing and helps so much. So this is Jason for the Quirk channel. Funny enough, I'll just mention one more thing. I'm actually glad now that I didn't get the higher version of mobility, because if I had got the higher version of mobility payment, I would have, instead of buying myself by selling stuff in the house, instead of buying my own mobility scooter, I would have actually instead allowed to have it on the Motability scheme. And therefore, I would be freaked out, because what if I'll ever lose my Motability? What if they ever drop it down? You lose access to it. So I couldn't have a chance. So now I'm glad that I don't have it on Motability, that I had to buy a second-hand one. So, yeah. So this is Jason for the Weber channel. I hope you're all having a splendid first day.